All right, everyone, checkpoint 1, we are using PEMDAS. Now, reminder, PEMDAS stands for parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, and subtraction. And PEMDAS is basically telling us what order to simplify an expression in. So for instance, if I look at this first problem, I have multiplication, addition, and parentheses. And so if I am looking at PEMDAS, parentheses is the first thing I need to do. So I am going to do the operation inside the parentheses. That operation is addition. So this simplifies to 2 times 3 plus 4 is 7. So now I am left with 2 times 7. Now multiplication is the only operation left. 2 times 7 is 14. So you are always looking to go in PEMDAS order. We can do a more complicated one real quick. This time I have subtraction, parentheses, and this is an exponent right here. And so again, PEMDAS comes with parentheses first, and so I'm going to complete what's inside the parentheses first. So I'll be left with 2 minus, now 3 minus 2 is 1, so that becomes 1, and I still have the exponent there. Next up in PEMDAS is e for the exponent, so that is going to be the 1 to the power of 2, or 1 squared, which means that this becomes 2 minus 1 squared is just 1 times 1, which is 1. And finally, all that is left is 2 minus 1, which is 1. Pretty much the same thing, you just get more steps, but it's always the same idea where you are doing parentheses, then exponents, then multiplication, then division, then addition, then subtraction. When we get to absolute values, these are called absolute value bars right here, these vertical lines. And basically their job is to turn everything positive. So it's as simple as if I have the absolute value of -8, this is 8. So I can move on to more complicated problems like this. You can treat absolute value signs like parentheses. Okay, so when we are doing PEMDAS, treat these absolute values like parentheses. So it is telling us to do what is in the parentheses first. That is 4 minus 3. So I'm going to be left with 9 minus the absolute value of 1. Now the absolute value of 1, it turns everything positive. 1 is already positive. So all I'm left with is 9 times positive 1, which is 9. So basically takeaway from this is you can treat absolute value like it's parentheses in terms of the order it comes in PEMDAS. Now when we get to square roots, the square root is basically saying what times what is going to get me this number, okay? And so if I think of 16, is there a number that I can multiply by itself that gets me to 16? I'm thinking about my multiplication facts, and I know that 4 times 4 is 16. And so a square root undoes this. It undoes this multiplication by itself. And so square root of 16 is 4. Now here's the thing. There is one other number that you could multiply by itself to get to 16. This number is -4. If you multiply -4 times -4, well, a negative times a negative is a positive. So that also gets you 16. And so when we take a square root of a number, there are actually 2 answers. The square root of 16 is +4, but it is also -4. Now, your calculator, when you type this in, is going to give you 4. It's going to give you 4. It is not smart enough to tell you that the square root of 16 is also -4. And so this is for you to have to remember. Your calculator is not going to also give you that negative number. You have to remember that square rooting a number gives you a negative. value as well. Square root also fits into our PEMDAS order, okay? Again, treat it like parentheses, okay? So in that problem, I'm not going to do it for you, but you are going to want to simplify this 10 minus 6 before you take the square root of it, okay? Now, when we get to problems when we're plugging stuff in, to plug in something, I always tell my students, you must use parentheses when you plug in. Okay, so for instance, if I plug in, it's telling me x is 2. So instead of 2x plus 3, they just told me x is 2, so I can replace that x with a 2. If I don't use parentheses, this looks like 22, which is incorrect because this is 2 times x. So when I replace 2 with x, or I'm sorry, x with 2, I have 2 times 2 plus 3. And I need to think about PEMDAS now. This is multiplication right here, and this is addition. According to PEMDAS, I should do multiplication first. So it's going to be 4 plus 3, which is 7. Okay, so plugging in, you're simply taking that number that x is equal to, replacing it. Make sure to use parentheses. All right, and the last thing is sometimes you might be plugging in more than one number for one variable. So let's look at number 5. Apparently our y is -2 and our x is 4. So I'm going to use my parentheses when plugging in -2 minus 2 plus 4. Again, this -2 used to be a y, this 4 used to be an x. And now I get to simplify. And I'm just going to write PEMDAS off to the side so I don't forget what order to go in. I have addition and subtraction happening here. So I'm going to do my addition first. -2 plus 4 is 2. So -2 plus 2 is 0. And that is all for checkpoint 1.